MedBix Webcast is a new kind of healthcare media channel to break the silo mentality and foster interdisciplinary thinking. Our mission is to fill that gap and to create a curiosity through different lenses, tapping the passion that guided the historical figures in medicine and bringing present-day groundbreaking research to the front lines. We interview physicians and leaders in the industry about present-day healthcare challenges on our live programming. Hey, welcome to the MedBix webcast. Today there is a special, a musical special. It's something I've been reading a lot about nowadays about the music connection with the neuroscience and the brain neuroplasticity. So I wanted to bring some kind of a program with that, and I'm going to bring it to a very close to my heart two personalities. So, so I'm going to bring that in a minute. But let me tell you a little bit introduction to the. My name is Ramana Annamaraju. I'm the MedBricks host of the MedBricks. Let me introduce you some. I'm going to read it a little bit, if you don't mind, about this coming episode. What kind of music and what kind of things that you can expect? So I'm going to. There are three people are going to join today. Is two close to my heart, and then one is Christina Spatora. She's a long-time supporter of mine, psychologist. She's going to explain how the music is going to help our brains. But anyway, I'm from India, as you all know, with accent, everything. So I'm going to give you some introduction. I'm going to read it quick. Telugu, the second largest spoken language in India. Hey, by the way, before I do anything, this is a jacket. It's called a Nehru jacket. People wear this Nehru time. Nehru was we popularized this jacket. You can buy it actually. Is a Nehru jacket they call. Okay, so I wore the wedding for my daughter, and now I'm wearing it for Indian occasions. So these are the very popular jackets called a Nehru jacket. If you can buy in Amazon actually, these jackets. But anyway, this is very. They came from a special place close to my heart. Also, that is. But anyway, let me explain to you a little bit about the program, about this introduction to this program. I'm going to read it. Telugu, the second largest spoken language in India. Not too many people know that second largest spoken language in India is my native language, Telugu. Often dubbed as the Italian of the East by the 13th century explorer Marco Polo, possesses a captivating charm marked by its smooth and rhythmic flow. That's called the Italian of the East, Telugu is called. Talking about music, one of my prominent guests, Sree Poornima, an accomplished Telugu singer and winner of the Paduta Tiyaga, a contest akin to American Idol, graces us with her presence. With impeccable vocal control, she brings forth the rich tapestry of Indian ragas, adding depth to our musical journey. In the realm of expression, rap music emerges as a go-to tool for a Gen Z generation to articulate their feelings and frustrations. Backed by studies from EEG and fMRI, linking rap creation to heightened executive functions. Executive function is umbrella term for planning, organizing, and executing multiple tasks. Not only it increases the cognitive functions also. Meet Ramesh Alexander, a neuroscience graduate from Vanderbilt University and an upcoming rap artist from Atlanta, known by Ramakazi, with the performances at venues like the Soul Festival in Atlanta and the Indian Festival in Charleston, and it extends all the way to the BBC radio. They are cousins. These two are cousins. Now, these cousins from different worlds unite, produce a phenomenal fusion music of rap with ragas. The interplay of rhythms, melodies, and harmonies in fusion music not only delivers a stimulating experience for the brain, but also bridges cultural understandings, exemplifying the evolving landscape of music and our shrinking global community. So, without any further ado, I'm going to introduce you first. He is Ramesh Alexander. I wanted it to be for the disclosure purposes. I'm going to tell him who is he. He is my son, Ramesh Alexander. Welcome. you know, I hardly spoke with you on the internet. So tell me a little bit about your background, Ramesh. Rather, I telling you from my point of view.
Yeah, of course. So, my background is in music and neuroscience. So, I went to for undergrad. I went to Vandy and I studied neuroscience. Then went to PCOM and studied biomedical science, just kind of get an understanding of the entire human body and everything like that. And so, I've always been interested in research, especially with the brain. That's just been something that I've always been on, on like the science side. Now, I've been doing music as especially as like a hobby since I was a kid. I started writing when I was like really young, started getting into, freestyling, things like that, poetry. And so even in Vandy, I was doing like spoken word and different things, open mics, different things like that. So I started to take music seriously once once me and Poornima, created Bollywood Swing and just the reception that it got, and we've been going from there.
Okay, so before I'm going to play, I don't know, I'm waiting for the. Let me ask you. So Telugu is a language that you know a little bit about the exposure to Telugu
Conchum, conchum.
with the Bama, with my mother, your grandmother. Um, you got exposed and you went to India and then you exposed more. You met Poornima there. So, what is your musical influences from India that you have when you're creating a rap music?
Yeah. So I'll say there's some very like literal or some very like directly translatable elements. So like, with Bollywood Swing, we incorporate a lot of tablas, and some certain what's it called? Certain elements of raga that like and Carnatic music specifically in the background vocals and things like that. But from a rapper perspective, one thing that I've been studying a lot of is the different West rhythmic patterns that are used in Carnatic music that are more, I'd say, creative than the or unsaturated than the 4/4 pattern that pretty much a lot of Western music uses, which is boom dun 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 boom dun dun dun
I'm
boom dun dun boom. So a lot of Carnatic music has very um, you know
uh,
unorthodox to Westernized society patterns that
I'm
artists can learn from.
I'm going to play a sample of that whole thing between both of you, where you came from. Let me play the sample, okay?
All right.
పాడుతా తీయగా చల్లగా పాడుతా తీయగా చల్లగా శ్రీ పూర్ణిమ
సరి సరి మగలు తెలిసిన గడసరి చిగురు సొగసులు నీవేలేరా సరి సరి మగలు తెలిసిన గడసరి చిగురు సొగసులు నీవేలేరా సరి సరి.
Got the parking lot pouring shots of Bacardi to the top. Yeah, we call it a masala block party.
Put up with a Bollywood ting. She looking like a Bollywood queen. Now bust it like a Bollywood scene. And let me see it, Bollywood swing.
10:36.
Throw it all around the world. All around the world. All around the world. Throw it.
She a fly little diva. That be going to my head, no Khalifa. We should travel to a land Wi-Fi couldn't reach us. Let's hit Rome or the home of the zebras. Either she just wanna take a little trip to Ibiza, hit a little window in Indonesia, kick it in Brazil like FIFA, and treat a passport like a visa. Model in France like damn Mona Lisa. Now she wanna dance on the pyramids of Giza and Chichen Itza. Land in Geneva, then make it rain bands from the Tower of Pisa.
All around the world, all around the world.
So let me bring him again. Ramesh, come back. So let us talk about it a little bit. So let me, yes. So tell me about your, that I played a little bit of a sample of your music, and you incorporated quite a bit with the Indian and rap music together. How how the reception of the American, say, let us talk about first the black community side. How did they accept that kind of a fusion music?
I'll be honest, Bollywood Swing is one of my most popular songs, like top two at like any given time. And especially when I perform that song live, I mean, and I've performed that song all through Atlanta, in all different places, and that is a song that people always ask about. They always That's the one. That's usually one that like they'll ask, because of that song, they'll ask what my where my Spotify and everything are. So that's definitely one of the gateway songs for a lot of my fans. Actually, it's very well received.
So what about the question I'm asking is how the black community responded to that music, in particularly in the black community, the Bollywood swing and your fusion music, and then I will talk about Indian spectators how they received your music.
Well, that's what I meant. So in the Atlanta scene, the high majority of crowds that I perform for are pretty much all black, and that is one of the most popular songs that I perform, if not the most popular one.
So
In like,
both cultures accepted this kind of a music very surprisingly, right? Because they're ready. I think the world is shrinking and everybody wants to know a little bit of a new kind of exciting music and different kind of tones you bring to the new table. That's they're very much receptive to that. That's the both the black side and the Indian side. They a lot of when you went to Charleston, your experience. Tell me how the kids,
hmm.
how they dancing with you. Tell us a little experience about your experience in Charleston when you did perform in Indian festival.
Yeah, so when I do performances, especially when I know I'm going to do like Bollywood swing or another, where it's themed around, so the culture, I always work with this to the show, because especially for India Fest, I knew that the majority of youth, at least, that we're gonna watch are young Indian children. So I wanted to make sure that they were able to see some of themselves in me as I'm up there performing and trying to showcase elements of our culture. And so when I was performing, I would say probably the last three songs, once they finally understood my vibe and everything like that, the kids literally got on stage and started dancing and just behind me, and it was a lot of fun, especially because the last song that they were dancing to was an unreleased song. So I know that the kids are gonna love it when it drops.
I'm yeah. That's a. So how do you explain the brain and the connection with the brain and all this music and expansion of the brain? So when you were a kid, I remember you would. What one of the things surprising me when you were a kid, people and the parents usually have a negative connotations about the rap music. But one day I was watching you, and then you were going through a dictionary. The dictionary to go to the terms. So why is he looking for a dictionary to add a new terminology to the there's a two to the vocabulary? I was surprised. So that you're expanding your vocabulary, language. So there is a evidence in the neuroscience that language processing abilities increase that area of the brain. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so first and foremost, a lot of rappers are actually very smart. Like, I mean, you'd be surprised about the amount of rappers that are like valedictorians or like just made all A's, especially in like language arts. I mean, it's a high amount. But so I actually have a platform called Deciphering Dope, and in this platform, I essentially break down the neuroscience of music. And the first one, which actually covered my like the me seeing Outkast in concert, it actually covers what freestyling does to your brain. And so when you freestyle, right? So, and this is just an example. When you freestyle, you are using essentially most, if not all, of your executive functioning. So your frontal lobe, and along with, like, I think it's a Wernicke's. So the language processing center, or the process that comes up with words. But because of you having to essentially come up with something on the spot and then say it on the spot, you're using both Wernicke and Broca. So you're using the center that both processes words that come to your mind, but also how does that translate into you saying it out loud. So you're actually, when you rap, you're using multiple parts, or freestyle, you're using multiple parts of your brain, your memory, most likely your amygdala, like your emotional center, cingulate gyrus, your frontal lobe, the decision making part, like what words am I going to use, what rhyme scheme, all of that. So I would say freestyling and just rapping in general are very good tools for helping you, your memory recall, for helping your emotional memory, as well as helping with your frontal lobe. So a lot of rappers, like Eminem's read the dictionary at least a couple different times. Nas has said he's read the dictionary. Like, a lot of rappers have done that in order to have the lexicon to be able to come up with different words and rhyme schemes and things like that on the spot.
That's yeah, you're one of the very few people who have a degree in neuroscience and plus a rap artist you are. You're one of the few in the world, I think. But you have this is the one area of research. There's a big research. NIH is now National Institute of Health is spending a lot of time, and they've opened a Sound Health, it's called, with the Kennedy Center, in the combination with the Kennedy Center. But anyway, so I'm going to bring, I'm waiting for Poornima. Poornima is taking classes, and she is probably in the transit somewhere, and I hope she's going to join. Before that, I'm going to bring another lady. She's a good friend of mine. She has been with me, very close friend, beginning of this podcast actually. Christina Spataro. I always say that I kill her last name all the times. She is a very good friend of mine, and she's a psychologist. She is actually deals with a lot of disadvantaged youth in the Bronx. She's from Bronx, New York, and she deals with a lot of the kids go through a lot of trauma and experiences. I'm going to bring Christina a little bit into the table. Let me bring Christina. Hello, Christina.
Hi, thank you for
Welcome to
having
the
me. How are
Medbix
you doing
webcast.
today?
you know, Tell us a little bit background of yours, says Christina. You're a close friend, a long time friend for me. I know you for a long time. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, I am a psychotherapist and relationship coach. I have been one for over 18 years. I work with children and adults, and I just have a passion for helping people to basically be who they were intended to be before life got in the way and started messing with their heads.
So I'm going to ask you this question.
Hmm.
Today is a special program I'm doing is on the music, on the psychology, the
Hmm.
a lot of people relate to the rap music, particularly you. You're from Bronx,
Hmm.
you understand that journey of those people, their frustrations, their feelings, they can express through that language. Is
Hmm.
kind of an outlet for them. Tell us a little bit about that, if you don't mind, and I will bring my son also to
Of
the.
course.
We all three can together. Yeah, just a minute. This is 1 second. I'm going to bring all of us. Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. So that's my son, and you. There. I maybe.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Good to see you too.
So tell us a little bit, Christina. What do you think of a little bit? If you take the camera a little bit far, yeah, we can
Okay,
see you.
yes,
Yeah,
somehow I
that's it.
wound up super close to you. Let me move
Super
this
close to
back a
me.
little. How's that? So I don't look as
That's
scary.
perfect.
I'm just a giant head. Um, I really was impressed by what your son was saying because in my studies in psychology, clinical neuro was actually one of my favorite areas. I was actually considering specializing in clinical neuro, but I really enjoyed the direct client work working with the children. So that's how I ended up there. But music is so powerful, as you basically expressed in terms of many of the rappers. And I do, if I'm not mistaken, I think of rap is, if not the I think if the Bronx is not the birthplace, I think it was definitely one
Yep,
of
it
the
is
first place. It is the birthplace. Yes, I'm right.
100%.
So you're so right, because basically it does involve using all those centers of the brain. I mean, there have been numerous studies that have shown how music affects mood, how it affects memory, how it affects cognition. They've actually done studies where playing music for stroke patients, these stroke patients have had better cognitive outcomes though for those that listen to music consistently than those that didn't. In fact, they even did it where they did audiobooks versus music. And again, the music had the better outcome because music stimulates the limbic system. When you play music, you see those centers light up. So it helps the emotions. Music is so tied to memory. How many times, if you like hear a song from the past, it brings you back there. So this is why they've even found people who've had brain injury that are then have music or have music played for them, they will have better outcomes. And then they also find music helps people physically. There's something about the vibration. They've used vibration in music to help children with cerebral palsy, and they've seen good outcomes there. I mean, music is such a powerful force for healing. It's no wonder it's such a rich part of our cultural heritage.
Ramesh, binaural beats. I don't know exactly the word. So, can you tell us a little bit about that? Binaural beats are something that natural frequencies that people respond to. Alzheimer patients particularly recall the. Can you tell us a little bit, Ramesh?
Yeah. Yes. So right before I get to that, I actually want to follow up with the point you were making, like with music and memory. There's so especially with Alzheimer's and dementia patients. I don't know if you've seen the study, but they're
Yes.
saying when they play drums, or if they learning how to play the drums actually helps with their, like, learning rhythm actually helps with their memory
Yes.
cognition. I think
Mhm.
that's so interesting. Like, just learning instruments, learning how to play an instrument, it can literally help with like things like that. And they say that, there are Alzheimer's and dementia patients who they might not be able to remember like their child's name, but they can
Mhm.
remember their favorite song. And
Yes.
because it activates a lot of centers. So the limit, there's multiple emotional memory centers, and then you have your actual memory center, like the hippocampus. And
Mhm.
so it's very interesting to see how that ties together, And so, I started thinking about some of the mnemonic devices that we learn in school.
Mhm.
So from like, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, which is
Exactly.
Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, to the 50 States song. Like, if I were to,
Mhm.
to have to name the 50 states just with no rhythm, I'd have to really think about it. But I can, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona,
Yes.
Arkansas, California.
Yes.
That stuff is so helpful. And that's even within human history. A lot
Mhm.
of stories and oration was passed down through
Through
song.
music. Yes.
And so,
There there's such a rich history of music
mhm.
in in humans learning and connecting. That's not an accident.
Mm,
When we break away from the thing that we naturally gravitate to, that is usually when we have trouble. So the
mhm.
fact that in every culture, in every part of this world, humans respond to music in every possible way on a visceral level, that
Yeah.
shows the level of importance to our minds, to our bodies, to our spirit.
Exactly. I mean, music is the most universal language. I mean,
Yes.
that's why if you're watching a movie and let's say it's a horror movie, there's
Right.
certain notes that are like
Yes.
certain instruments and notes that have to be played to give you the vibe of a scary scene. No
Exactly.
matter what language you speak, that music will make you nervous when that happens, or
Absolutely.
happy music, all
Hmm.
that stuff. And so it is literally a way for us to communicate.
Yes, it is. Wasn't there even a movie? Oh, I'm a movie buff, so you got to bear with me.
Trust me, me too.
So, old movies, new movies, but if you think there's an old movie, I want to say, is it late 70s, early 80s? Was Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It was like a precursor to ET, where
Yeah.
they actually communicated with the musical notes, dum 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 dum, and it's like music.
Hmm. Yeah.
Music was this language, like this alien civilization was trying to communicate with this little tune. And
But that's a binaural beats. About that, Ramesh, I was asking you about that
Yeah,
beats. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, so to get to that point with binaural beats, so I think people we're essentially at the beginning stages of creating music with an intentionality of affecting like the mental health and
mm-hmm,
people, right?
mm-hmm,
So I think that it's very intentional that like a lot of beats, especially hip hop beats nowadays, have like heavy bass because of the low vibrations. People
right.
understand what certain wavelengths and frequencies can do to at least how you feel in your nervous system. And so with binaural beats, they've started the beginning process of being able to try to figure out certain tones and frequencies that essentially activate or resonate with certain parts of your brain. So with binaural beats, these are like a lot of constant tones, like a
Mm-hmm.
ooh, something like that. That's a certain frequency and a certain note and tone that might operate on the same frequency as your executive function, which will help you focus, or
Mm-hmm.
your hippocampus, which will help you your recall, or certain center like your what is it, serotonin center that helps you sleep. So um, just being able to
Christina,
continue to improve on that state.
Christine, can you talk about a little bit executive functions a little bit? Why it is important executive function for planning and organizing? A little bit executive function for the children, particularly kids.
So basically, your executive functioning, which you have your frontal lobe. So executive functioning, think of a corporation, right? And you have this executive, the CEO. He tells everybody else what to do. That's what your executive functioning does. It basically keeps everything in line. And
Mm,
so, for instance, if you have children or even adults with ADHD, it impairs executive functioning. Why is this so important? Because this is why people with ADHD have a hard time keeping schedules, have a hard time with planning, they have a hard time remembering, they have a hard time going on to the next task because you don't have that CEO of the brain telling you, okay, I need you to do this, need you to do this, need you to do this. Like I kind of use the example with my clients. I say it's like if the CEO's taking a nap. So you may have everybody that can still do their thing, but the CEO is napping in the office and not telling anybody what to do. So they're just hanging, doing everything lackadaisical whenever they feel like it. So this is why you need executive functioning. You need that part of the brain to keep everything else in line and doing what it has to do. And for the way music stimulates and the way music improves cognitive processes. In fact, they say many of the same things involved with reading are involved with understanding music, the way we
mm,
string things together. So the fact that music can stimulate and feed that is essential for good cognitive functioning, which is why, like you said, people with Alzheimer's, with dementia, if you want to understand how the brain works, look at people when the brain's not working
mhm.
because of Alzheimer's or because of stroke or because of injury. And when you see what works to help them, you see what's vital to us.
Exactly, exactly. Like the brain does have a lot of like multiple systems that'll it be involved in checks and balances. So like,
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about there's multiple memory centers. Some are emotionally connected, others are
Mm-hmm.
just memory specifically. But when one of those works, it's a functional system. But when all of
Right.
them work together, it's even
Yes.
stronger. Which is why
Yes.
music, it's so much easier to remember music or mnemonic devices than it
Mm-hmm.
is to remember information, because you're activating your hippocampus, your
Yes.
amygdala, your cingulate gyrus, like all of these different structures in your brain that they say, I forgot what it's called, but it's essentially creating stronger synapses.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Because the synapse, that's how everything's communicating with each other. You
Hmm.
want, just like you want good communication with people and relationships, you want good communication in that brain. Because
Hmm.
when it's not communicating right, you have all kinds of problems.
Ramesh, you worked with a organization called AREACH, that is a very disadvantaged youth in Atlanta area. You were using a lot of technology, VR, virtual reality, and neurofeedback systems So music is a very easy the reach that can reach the disadvantaged youth in Atlanta area, particularly people who go through trauma. And also Christina, after that, talking about that, then after that I will
Mhm.
ask Christina also. She worked with a lot of disadvantaged youth in
Mhm.
Bronx area.
Mhm.
Tell us, both areas in Atlanta and Bronx, they have a lot of these commonalities. The people, the children go through a lot of traumas. Tell us, start with Ramesh first. And how do you think that, what do you think reaching that through the organization you're doing?
So the thing about, and I don't want to sound like, one of those old school rappers who's just, but I think that the music that kids listen to, especially in the canvas stage, does have an impact on how
Mhm.
they perceive their situations. Sometimes it's good, but sometimes it's not. And so, if you're surrounded by a certain type of environment, but the music is also reinforcing some of that certain negativity, it can kind of desensitize children to certain things like, death or violence, things like that. And so, that stuff does impact a child's dopamine levels or
Mhm.
certain neurotransmitter levels, neurotransmitter availability thresholds in a child's brain, just by what type of music they're ingesting and what they're also experiencing in the real world. So with that trauma, what we try to do is reach the kids through outlets that they already use
Mhm.
and try to help them use it in a healthier way. For instance, one of the things we always ask the kids, like, what do you do to de-stress? And if they say, I
Mhm.
like to draw, I like to sleep, I like to listen to music, well, what we try to do is find ways like, okay, what about this type of music? Or
Mhm.
how about, when you wake up in the morning, if you like to, write, wake up in the morning and write. First thing you do in the morning, try to write something, whatever comes to your mind, and different brain training exercises that are fun for the kids. So, J. Cole actually said that when he wakes up in the morning, one of the first things he does is just try to write a verse, whatever comes out. And it does a couple things. One, you just get really quick at writing verses, but
Mhm.
two, you're actually strengthening your frontal lobe and your language centers to be immediate. I mean, from the moment you wake up. So, it's a very good brain training exercise. You know?
I agree completely. And the funny thing is, I've actually been to Atlanta,
Yeah.
and I had been there in pre pandemic days. I went to a wonderful psychology conference, and the topic was brain training and using things to stimulate the brain and train the brain and help kids overcome things like, brain injury and ADHD, things that were interfering. And the idea that when you do that, when you do use things like music, and I agree with you, everyone has the right to their artistic expression, but the power of certain sounds of certain words can be used for good or bad.
Mhm.
And that's the key. If you have music, so what is it doing to the brain? Just like certain images. I mean, I personally, I can't handle horror because I see the images, I remember them, and they stay in my brain, and it's too upsetting. So the idea is that what you ingest musically is going to impact you. It is going to impact your brain. And if your daily life is hard and stressful and the music is reinforcing that, but on the flip side, if you're listening to music that is uplifting, that is letting you know you are not limited by your circumstance, that you can actually rise above this. If it is encouraging that, then it is encouraging new neural pathways to be formed in your brain for
Mhm.
you to actually create new mental paths that you can follow.
I think I'm watching between the discussion between both of you is fascinating to me. Both you should apply for grants together. He's a neuroscience graduate and you're a psychotherapist. It's an excellent idea because I think there is a NIH is now paying a lot of attention to the music side of it. Now they use called sound health. It's called sound
Mm-hmm.
health. The NIH with the Kennedy Center they started together is a very great initiative, and you should just check it out, both of you. In fact, so not only disadvantaged youth or people with any kind of injury, right? The Alzheimer's, particularly
Mm-hmm.
among healthcare, Alzheimer's, stroke victims. I'm going to talk about. We actually January my first guest in the January 10th. I'm talking with a neuro rehab physician. We'll talk
Mm-hmm.
about that how the music. She's actually degree. She has a degree in from Gilead School of Music. She has a
Mm-hmm.
degree, and she's a doctor. She's a neuro rehab doctor. I'm going to talk with her about the little bit about the influence of the music on the brain. But both of you deal with a lot of these trouble. Both centers, you work both here in Atlanta and the Bronx are the epicenters sometimes for the unfortunately. So they are the epicenters for the lot of trauma for children, and
Mm-hmm.
people from other countries also come to these both cities. And then then they from Africa, a lot of them come to Atlanta, and then from all over Eastern Europe they come to Bronx. So they go through a lot of these traumas. Do you see that one of the things you do therapy, of course, Christina, you're a
Mm-hmm.
licensed therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you should incorporate music is also part of the process in the whole healthcare system?
Oh, absolutely. There is even a field of study called music therapy. Now, my specific degree is not in music therapy precisely, but because I recognize the importance of it, I very much incorporate music in my therapy practice. And I'm always learning more and more about it and then bringing back what I am studying. This is the beauty of continuing ed. You can be a forever student. And I'm always bringing that back to my clients because it is important to the kids. It is helpful to them. So 100%, I
Yeah.
believe in the healing power of music mentally, physically, spiritually. Absolutely.
I think the reimbursement also important. I think insurance companies understand this thing, should understand,
Mm-hmm.
and then reimbursing the people like you and Dane, my son, and all those people. They need to reward this kind of incorporate, this kind of things and how powerful that music is can unite people. And when there is a lot of fractions between the people, the music unites
Mm-hmm.
them. Particularly with the fusion music that Ramesh is producing. Okay, any fine. Ramesh, you are wearing a T-shirt that is, that you can show that it is from my hometown. That is, Ramesh is my son. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
is
Sorry.
wearing my hometown shirt. That is a Bhimoram. It's called. That's a temple on the left side, and right side is the gentleman who got the. We didn't get the Nobel Prize. We deserve to get a Nobel Prize. Subbarao is a he won the he actually he discovered the first chemotherapy drug for
Mm-hmm.
the children, in fact, the methotrexate. So he did a lot of other drugs. He's a very well-known biochemist and a doctor. So that's the t-shirt he's wearing. But Christina, as always, pleasure to see both of you. It is. I'm going to play this music for Ramesh, and unfortunately, the she Poornima, yeah, Poornima could not able to join. I think so. Final word, Ramesh. You want to say final word? I play the music for the. Do you want to say something? Final words, Ramesh?
Yeah. So, music. The beautiful thing about music, it's the only drug that you don't have to that you don't ingest, right? So I mean, it can be used to teach people. It can be used to break people down. It all
Mm-hmm.
depends on how you use it. But one of the beautiful things about playing music for a developing mind, they say that
Mm-hmm.
if you play classical music to a child in the womb or at a young infant as they're like sleeping, it actually there's correlation that it can improve their IQ. And I mean, even and that's just by playing that music. And then also I personally know people who they might not speak any English, but they can rap almost every word to their favorite Eminem song or their
Mm-hmm.
favorite Lil Wayne song, or just off of the fact that they're processing things through sound. And so just if there's my last thing to say is that for anyone out there who is raising a development mind or ever gets the chance to influence a developing mind through teaching or whatever, um, use
So
music
you,
for
you
the
want to
better.
say some final words, Christina?
I'll
Christine?
just piggyback. Yes, the power of music on the developing the mind is enormous. It also still works on adults too.
Yeah.
So for those adults out there who maybe are feeling weary or stressed, or maybe they don't feel like they're thinking as clearly as they used to, I pretty much can guarantee you that if you incorporate music more into your daily life, you will see an improvement in your cognition, in your mood, in your overall well-being. There's that expression, music soothes the savage beast. Well, music is at the core of what soothes humanity. And when we can tap into that, we can do amazing things.
Thank you for both of you joining with me today. It's a special occasion. It is really fantastic. I'm going to play just a couple of small pieces of music and then say good night for all of you. Then let me play this music of Ramakazi and the Poornima. Thank you all. Good night.
పాడుతా తీయగా చల్లగా పాడుతా తీయగా చల్లగా శ్రీ పూర్ణిమ
సరి సరి మగలు తెలిసెర గడసరి చిగురు సొగసులు నీవేలేరా సరి సరి మగలు తెలిసెర గడసరి చిగురు సొగసులు నీవేలేరా సరి సరి
Got the parking lot pouring shots of Bacardi to the top. Yeah, we call it a masala block party.
Balbala lagera ho balbala chalo nacho masmala let me call you my king baby I love you when your Bollywood swing
Put up with a Bollywood ting. She looking like a Bollywood queen. Now bust it like a Bollywood scene. And let me see it, Bollywood swing.
10:36. Throw it all around the world, all around the world, all around the world. Throw it. She a fly little diva that be going to Miami, no Khalifa. We should travel to a land Wi-Fi couldn't reach us. Let's hit Rome or the home of the zebras. Either she just wanna take a little trip to Ibiza, hit a little window in Indonesia, kick it in Brazil like FIFA, and treat a passport like a visa. Model in France like damn Mona Lisa. Now she wanna dance on the pyramids of Giza and Chichen Itza. Land in Geneva, then make it rain bands from the Tower of Pisa. All around the world, all around the world.
Thank you all joining for me. Good night. Stay on the line. I'll talk with you 1 second. How do you like the music of Ramakazi?